This is The Rome Show with your hosts, Andrew Romanella.
Regular people should be in the Olympics so you can see how actually hard what some of these people are doing are. Because I don't think I'm good enough in this spot based on my own personal mental health, so I can't continue. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into a Monday morning edition of The Rome Show here on 12OZSports.com. Broadcast live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I am your host, Andrew Romanella. I'm with you every single morning at 7 a.m. And boy, am I thankful for that. We remind you, you can be with us every morning on social media. If you go ahead and head to Instagram or Twitter, and you go ahead and search at Coach Romo24 or at The Rome Show 1 right behind us. All right, and a lot of people have been getting in on social media recently, and I love it because that's exactly what we've been looking for on The Rome Show. We also would behoove us to not remind you that 12 Ounce Sports is locked, all right? They have a ticketing website, and they have a promo code, mybookie.net. So before we get going here, just want to do some housekeeping. Head to mybookie.net, use the promo code 12OZSports, and receive up to $1,000 back on your first bet. Or head to tickets.12OZsports.com. That's tickets.12OZsports.com and pick up yourself a pair of tickets to any event, concerts, sporting events, Broadway shows, you name it. Tickets.12OZsports.com has it, and you can use the promo code ROME, just like the show, ROME. And you are getting a percentage back. The last promo we need to tell you about is wideworldshop.com. I got all the gear on today, plus the You Got This mug. You can get the You Got This stuff in the mug. You can get it in a sweatshirt. You can get it in a crew neck. A lot of options there. Or you can get the Be Electric stuff. Same exact thing. Coffee mugs, shirts, crew necks, or hoodies. You name it, Wide World Shops got it. Use the promo code 12OZ Sports, and you will get a discount there. Without further ado, we go straight off the Rome. So, I got two straight off the Romes for you today. One's an experience, and one is legitimately what's going on in NCAA college basketball. But the first, I got to start with this. All right. So, I've spoken on this show. I think I've spoken on this show about how my girlfriend was a Division I gymnast at the University of New Hampshire, okay? And so since our relationship started, I've been getting a crash course, let's say, on gymnastics, okay? And not just gymnastics at like a low level or just the college level or just the Olympics level, like the fullest of a picture of what it looks like to be a gymnast from age 4 until if you possibly had the chance to be Simone Biles at the Olympic stage, okay? And the first thing I have to tell you is I do not think people realize the dedication level that goes into this sport. I mean, hands down, flat out, you think you work hard in like baseball or you think you work hard in football, and then you start to hear some of these stories about my girlfriend and her friends and what they did when they were like 10, 11, 12, just to get to the point of having the chance to be recruited at the Division I level, let alone even thinking about going on to the U.S. national team and competing at the world stage, okay? And on top of the sacrifice at the younger age, there are certain levels to this. That's right. You have to reach a certain level just to be on the college floor. So let's put it this way for a quick second before we dive into my weekend meet that I got to go to. All right. So there are 10 levels of gymnastics, okay? And I think there's an elite level, which would be the level that gets you to the Olympics. But let's stick to the college format for a second. 10 levels if you do not reach level 10, which is essentially you being able to handle a bunch of different maneuvers inside of your routine. So for example, okay, and for those that might not know, in the gymnastics world at the female levels and competitions, you compete in 4 different, I'm going to call them obstacles because that's what they look like. That's what they are. All right. You have the uneven bars, you have the vaults, you have the floor, and you have the beam. Okay. And so you have to accomplish a certain amount inside of those routines to get the score, okay? And so in order to get to the college level, if you can't handle some of the tricks inside of those routines to get to the next level, you can't even compete at the college level. And it's not like, hockey or baseball or soccer where it's like, oh, I'm a Division III athlete, which means I'm still a college athlete, which is super insanely impressive, but I'm just not the highest 2% of the college athletes. It's not even like that, because if you want to be a Division III gymnast, you have to have the same qualifications and skill set and skill level as the ladies that we're watching on the SEC network on Friday nights. All right, so look at the D3 program in Wyoming and look at the D1 program at Louisiana State University. And in theory, right, I guess it's not a theory, it's the facts. All of those girls have to be level 10 gymnasts. So that's the first thing. All right, that changes the playing field, okay? The second thing is, all right, the difficulty with which these skills are being operated at is off the charts, okay? Because we're not talking about possible injury in terms of what we all know, which is like a broken wrist or a broken finger, torn ACL. Like those are injuries in gymnastics. But if you see, and I watched it a few times in person over the weekend, if you watch the height that they're getting off of these bars or above the vaults, or when they release on a tumbling move on the floor, or they dismount off the beam, it's off the charts. Like it is off the charts, okay? And if you miss any piece of that equipment, if you under-rotate, if you over-rotate, if you hit the vault at the wrong angle, if you trip on the runway of the vault, right? If you don't press off the ground appropriately on your floor tumbling and you don't get the appropriate height, if you dismount too far or too early and you step out of bounds, all of these factors, right? Any of those mess ups, and it's not just like a fall, you're falling from far heights, you are falling in uncomfortable, awkward positions, and it is super dangerous. And so over the weekend, I had the chance to go check out Bowling Green State University, Falcon, and LIU, Long Island University, okay? And this was my first, I've been to gymnastics meets as a young boy. I competed to a degree, and competing is a very, very light term for the amount of gymnastics that I did. Okay. Now, my brother, on the other hand, I think competed in gymnastics until he was like 9 or 10 years old, somewhere around, and was pretty good. Like, I've watched my brother win some floor routines. I've watched him compete on the vaults. They have the rings, the parallel bars in men's. Men's is slightly different in terms of the equipment that they're using and what they're doing at each rotation. But nonetheless, I have a gym background, but I know nothing comparative to what I witnessed over the weekend. And I got to tell the people, okay, if you have a chance to go check out a Division I gymnastics meet, you got to do it, okay? It is electric, okay? Besides the fact that, all right, I have a personal affinity because I know my girlfriend loves it. She dedicated her life to it, and she's going to be stoked just being in the gym, right? I actually enjoy it. Like, I will turn it on myself now. Every Friday night, ESPN's got the SEC network. They call it Friday Night Heights, electric name. And you will see some of the, wild. And I never once in my life would have ever put down gymnastics, okay? I am a person that on these airwaves, on the Rome Show podcast, since the start of time, has given cheerleading its due. One, because of my sisters, but two, because of some of the acrobatics that are done in cheerleading, okay? Now take that argument and think why gymnastics is all of the extreme nature. Gymnastics is the hardest aspect of anything you've ever seen done by a cheerleader or a dancer or anyone that you think is in that category. Gymnastics is 40 times harder, 40 times more difficult, 40 times more pressure, okay? Let me put this into perspective for you, okay? You are flipping yourself on bars, right? This way, that way, and then you're doing you're freaking what feels like 12 feet in the air, doing a double twist, McCordy 80, whatever the hell they call them, and trying to land and stick it. If you move 4 inches to your left as you land, deduction of a point, okay? If you don't vertically have your feet as close to 0 degrees as possible from the bar, within 10 degrees, so anywhere from 0 to 10, you're cookies. 11, beyond, we got a problem. You lose 10th of a point, losing points, right? I learned yesterday that if you're switching from one uneven bar to the other uneven bar and you happen to touch the other piece of equipment on the transition, loss of points. I mean, like, what? Like, I am up here flipping around. I don't even know where I am. I mean, I have no clue. And I've been saying it too. I need to be able to do this. I need to try it. So the moral of the story is this. Over the last, I don't know, bunch of months dating my girlfriend, I have gained a whole new appreciation for the sport of gymnastics. And we're going to get Juliana on here one day, I think, so she could talk about it herself. A whole new appreciation, what it does to the body, the mental difficulty of it. I mean, just what you have to do so early on in your life, even to get to the point of being at the Division I level. And we aren't even talking about the Division I level. That could also be that small percentage that goes to the Olympics. Like, we're just talking about the best that we witness on television. Like, the best girls that we can have the chance to see, just like we watch NCAA basketball or football or baseball, same exact thing. And by the way, when you go on the ESPN app or you go on YouTube TV, you can find that NCAA gymnastics logo as easily as you can find any of the others. It's right there. And I think it's gaining a lot of popularity. I do think next year, in my era, it was Shawn Johnson. Shawn Johnson is who introduced me to how good we were specifically as a country at gymnastics, especially of the female variety. But on top of that, just my interest in the sport. Whereas now you have ladies like Simone Biles who are really pushing the tempo on that. And I mean, in my lifetime, in that 20 years gap between Shawn and Simone, there's been so many others like Allie Reisman and the like that have come and brought excitement to the sport. But having been somebody that was a novice to it, never seen it before and had the chance to see it this weekend, you know, shout out to anybody that's doing college gymnastics. But shout out Bowling Green. They won the match, okay? They had the overall team score, and they had an all-arounder. So I figured I'd finish straight off the road with this. Give everybody a little bit of an explanation on how this works. So I mentioned before you compete in your 4 rotations, okay? The rotation for the home team goes vault, bars, beam, floor, whereas the rotation for the away team goes bars, vault, floor, beam. And the idea here is the beam is the hardest one, so you put the away team on that one last, and they really got to earn it in that rotation, okay? Then the routines can be counted for up to 10 points, meaning the difficulty of your routine is going to start at a certain level, okay? So, for example, let's put Andrew and Juliana on the floor competing against each other. If I am not accomplishing tricks and movements that are as difficult as Juliana is, I might start my routine at a 9-9, let's say. And she might start her routine at a difficulty level of a 10. Okay? So then that is where the judges start their deductions from. So if you have a really, really good routine, but the difficulty level starts at a 9, 8, 7, 5, sometimes it's almost more difficult to beat somebody because even if they're not as clean, your cleanest might not equate to the same amount of points, okay? So 6 competitors in each rotation. So if we're going on the uneven bars right now, I'm going to have 6 people in my lineup, just like a baseball roster, okay? However, you're only going to count the 5 highest scores. So essentially, it gives you a buffer, small buffer, but a buffer if somebody was to fall, not stick, or just simply, let's say you had a bunch of 9.75s, 9.8s, 9.825s, and someone was a 9.625. Well, you now get to drop that 9.625, okay? Then over the course of the match, all right, or the meet, I should say, the scores are being added up, okay? So every time a score comes in, if it's your team, let's say, has 100 points, just for sake of easy conversation, and we've gone through the first 6 rotations, okay? That 100 points now might drop to 95-2 or whatever. You're eliminating the lowest score, 49, whatever. You're going to eliminate the lowest score. So those 5 only count for the total team score after that first rotation, okay? So that's what's interesting about watching the sport is like you're looking at the score and it's crazy changes in numbers sometimes because they're sliding out the lowest score of the 5 being calculated and adding in the newest score that might have taken somebody's place, okay? And at the end of the match, you have 2 winners, the team and the all-around. The all-around is a female or a male in the men's case, but we're talking female gymnastics here. We are a female that competes in all 4 of the competitions, okay? Because not everybody on the floor is competing in all 4 of the events. There might be a few, but for the most part, as I've been learning, there's specialty to it too. Like this girl's really good on beam and that girl's really good on floor. So they're in those 2 lineups, but they're not as good on vault and bars. So they're not in that lineup. So essentially, whoever the best gymnast on your team is, essentially, right? Because they're also good enough to have all 4 routines on deck and compete at the meet and be able to help their team win. So you get an all-arounder and then you get the team. All right, and so yesterday, the Bowling Green State University Falcons defeated the Long Island University Sharks. I was a very proud Bowling Green fan yesterday. Juliana worked there. Her best friend's the assistant there. Awesome, awesome time. And so I now just have a whole new appreciation for a sport that I never thought that I would ever really, really watch. You know, every 4 years, the Olympics comes on, and you see these sports that you don't normally watch, right? I'm watching baseball. I'm watching hockey. I'm watching football. Even to a degree, I'm watching soccer, right? I'm watching basketball. I watched the entire Golden State Nuggets game last night while prepping for the show. Like, those are sports that I grew up on, that I grew up watching, that I've always had appreciation for. And then you start to appreciate other sports because of different things. My godfather loves golf, loved Tiger Woods. I start watching golf. I live on a golf course when I was in Georgia, get a new appreciation for the sport, right? It takes something to open up your eyes to looking at another sport, playing another sport, or just kind of getting an idea about what it's like. And I am so happy that Jules brought me to gymnastics. And I'm not just saying that just to make her happy, because I can promise you, I think she knows this by now. And the people that know me that listen to this show know this by now. I ain't afraid to tell you how I feel. Okay, so if I didn't like it, I wouldn't watch it. And we have 2 TVs in my living room. So if I have 2 TVs and she wants to watch gym on one when she's over, I could gladly watch something else. But I am locked. And it is super awesome. So anyone out there listening to The Rome Show, I highly suggest take a second this week. Go check out any of the gymnastics programs, especially at the Division I level, that are going to be on ESPN, ESPN Plus, YouTube TV, wherever you can find it. And check the sport out. Because I have a whole new appreciation for that sport. And I think we're going to be big Bowling Green State fans on this show, just for the gymnastics program, though, because you know what? We need the Falcon all the time. This is The Rome Show here on 12ozsports.com, sponsored by WideWorldShop.com, sponsored by tickets.12ozsports.com, promo code ROME, and mybookie.net. So many places you can go to get deals when you listen to The Rome Show on 12ozsports.com. When we get back, Rick Pitino had some interesting comments last week about his St. John's basketball team, and I think they responded, and I think no matter how harsh the comments were, Rick Pitino might have gotten his point across. We'll talk about that next. Plus, daily data. Nikita Kucherov is back on the docket here on The Rome Show, 12ouncesports.com.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money. And we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
It's the Rome Show!
What's up? We are back here on 12ouncesports.com. The Rome Show in the morning. I am Andrew Romanello. We got some time left, and we are excited about it. It is Monday, February 26th, and it is a big week for the Centenary University Cyclones baseball program. We got Ramapo at home on Wednesday, Keuka College for a 3-game series over the weekend, and then we travel to Roanoke University or college, it's one of the two, down in Salem, Virginia next week. So a big 7 to 12 days for the Centenary University Cyclones. You got to check us out, people. I think it's amazing stuff. But while you do that, I'm just going to go ahead and go around the wide world. Okay, in basketball, all right, I don't know if you know this, but Doc Rivers returned to Philadelphia, and it was not great from the fans' standpoint, but it was great from a basketball standpoint. Doc Rivers was actually booed in Philadelphia, which I thought was a little sad, but hey, who am I? I have no clue. Doc was there for 3 years. I don't think people realize that it was only 3 years. Felt like it was a little bit longer. His record in Philly was 154-82, including 3 straight losses in the Eastern Conference semifinal. Doc had this to say after his return: "I'm happy with it overall. I just wish we could have gone farther," Rivers said. "I wish we could have had a chance with Joel healthy in the playoffs." Rivers continued with this: "But overall, Joel became an MVP and we established his team as a championship contender. That wasn't said the year before. And under a lot of stuff, you think about it, we had the James Harden trade, the Ben Simmons stuff, so some was under my control, some was out of my control. But overall, for me, if you don't win a title, you're never really happy. That's why we all do this." Doc Rivers is currently 5-7 as the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks, but that includes 2 straight victories coming off the All-Star break, including last night where they held the Philadelphia 76ers to 98 total points and 16 in the fourth quarter. That has been a problem for the Bucks, which is why they got rid of their old coach and went to Doc Rivers. I don't know what's going to happen here, but I do know Giannis Antetokounmpo has his back, and that's quite possibly the most important thing. Staying in the NBA and continuing, 5 players were suspended in an altercation in the Miami Heat New Orleans Pelicans game over the weekend, okay? Including in those 5, Jimmy Butler, the star for the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler was actually suspended without pay, only for 1 game. But he and Pelicans forward Najee Marshall were the ones that were fined without pay because they were said to have been instigating and engaging it, according to the quote from the National Basketball Association. Also suspended in that fight, Jose Alvarado and Thomas Bryant. They got the most suspensions. That was 3. That's because they left the bench area. You cannot do that. In any sport, you cannot leave the bench area, like a big no-no. And then Nikola Jovic, not to be mistaken with Nikola Jokic. Okay, I know, wild. Jovic was also suspended for leaving the bench. So 5 total. It started because Kevin Love bear hugged Zion Williamson on his way to the hoop in the fourth quarter. I guess to not give him an easy bucket. I have no clue. But then, Butler and Marshall got into it, and bam, there went the fight. Actually, Zion came out and said that he did not think that what Kevin Love did was a problem. But either way, Eric Spoelstra said, "I felt like Jimmy shouldn't have gotten a game on that." So if you watch the video, it's not terrible. It was really just tangling, Spoelstra said, and a little bit of pushing. I don't think that he deserves another game because he ended up missing the fourth quarter Friday, which is a great point. And if you want to give the other three dudes for coming off the bench a game, but one thing I've learned about the NBA, they don't care if it's their best player or not, And so I kind of do respect that. I really do. Like, hey, if you do something wrong or you deserve this suspension, you get this suspension. So interesting. A lot of fighting happening in the NBA. And I think it's because there's no hockey rules where you can just like punch each other, go to the penalty box, and you're good. And I think that's why in hockey, it's almost like this is great. Like these two can get this going on. We don't have to deal with this stupidity of pushing around. Let's go to the replay and watch now. You two got something to say to each other. Knock each other in the teeth. We'll put you in the penalty box for 10 minutes. Take a cool down, and then we're going to go back to playing this game on ice. That's how, honestly, it's almost like every sport should have that opportunity. We could talk about that on another podcast. We got one more thing to go around. Nikita Kucherov scored his 100th, 101st, and 102nd point in the National Hockey League the other day. That is right. That is the second time in Nikita Kucherov's career he has been the fastest in the NHL to 100 points. This year, he scored 100 points in 59 games. That's actually reckless. That's actually reckless. All right. Nikita Kucherov in his career. Okay. Here is your daily data / Monday math. In his career, Nikita Kucherov has 702 games played, 313 goals, 514 assists for 827 total points. He's a career plus 127. Plus 127. He's got 48 game-winning goals. It goes further. And we said this 3 weeks ago on the show, giving him his props when he was not an all-star when he deserved to be. Nikita Kucherov has played in 142 playoff games, scoring 53 goals, recording 107 assists, and he has won 2 Stanley Cups with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Honestly, it is time. This man might be the most valuable player in the league. He could possibly be. I have no clue. But I feel like the Rome Show is doing a really good job of giving Nikita his due, and it doesn't feel like he's getting his due other places. And I get Connor Bedard and Austin Matthews and all of these guys, right? The hands and the name, and I get it all. All right. But Kucherov for 10 years has been the best player in the league, I think, consistently off the jump. And if he's not the best, fine. He's on the Mount Rushmore of top 4 players in the National Hockey League in the last 10 years. Argue me. At Coach Romo 24, at the Rome Show 1, Instagram, Twitter. I want to hear it, because I truly do believe this man's not getting the due he deserves. That's the second time in the month of February the Rome Show has spent time letting you people know that I need to know what I am missing and what everybody else is not. That is Around the Wide World, ladies and gentlemen, sponsored just like our podcast by WideWorldShop.com. Got some purchases yesterday off of WideWorldShop.com, and I just wanted to thank the people that are supporting WideWorldShop.com, because that is the primary support for this show. 12OunceSports.com is the mothership for us. And then the little things we need to hopefully fix, we use WideWorldShop.com to get us there. And plus, we look fire in our gear. So head there, support the show. Thank you to the people. Let's end with this. Rick Pitino was very harsh on his team last week after a loss to Seton Hall. This is the minute and 40 seconds, and it is super harsh. I'll be the first to admit it. But some good things have happened since then. But first, hear from Pitino last week.
We just lack toughness. We just don't move our feet on defense. Look, they shot 37 free throws. Throw out the stats. You see it every game, the amount of free throws they shoot and the amount of free throws we shoot. Look at what Naheem shot on the year. Look at what Chris Ledlam shot on the year. I mean, you're a power forward. You play 29 minutes without a free throw. That means you're not offensive rebounding, not getting to the line. So it's really all the toughness things of why we give up leads. We are so non-athletic that we can't guard anybody without fouling, and really it's not about losing, because even in winning when we watch the film, I see unathletic plays. I see people that don't handle the ball, that's just interested in taking quick shots. So it's been a disappointing year.
If you had to do it over again, would you have attacked your first offseason differently?
Had no choice. We just could take who we could get, who was available. We had no choice. I don't think we were going to win the first year anyway, because when you rush like that and you don't see the players and you just not a whole lot we can do. But it's I think I've enjoyed even the Celtics when we lost. I've enjoyed every minute being the Boston Celtic coach. Didn't like the fact that we lost in that following year, but this has been the most unenjoyable experience I've had since I've been coaching.
You have any second thoughts of taking this job?
No, not at all. It's not St. John's. It's my team. Look, I'm disappointed. I don't want to say the wrong things, but I'm really disappointed in my team.
So after those comments, Rick Pitino got not hammered, but kind of hammered, okay? And I don't mean from the alcohol standpoint, although he probably wanted to. I mean from the people standpoint. People could not believe that he was that harsh on his team, a team that a lot of people believe he handpicked when he got hired at St. John's. Now, he addressed that in the comments, saying, all right, well, we had to do what we had to do. Would you do it over? Well, we had to do what we had to do because it was the time that I got hired. It was who was available. We didn't have time to scout these kids. We had to take what we could get, okay? Pretty standard issued response from a coach who took over a program in his first year. Standard issued response for me. Like, honestly, between me, you, and the Romo Sapiens that listen to this show, we definitely should have made the playoffs last year on our baseball team. Like, if you look back on that roster from top to bottom, we had enough talent to be able to get to the postseason. I, as a head coach in a lot of areas, did not do a good enough job setting that specific team up for success. In some areas, I did, because we were still better than it had ever been before, and the culture's great, and we made those adjustments. But in the winning department, we made some bad decisions as a coaching staff, primarily me, because I lead that staff. So, yeah, me. And that could have helped us be better. And I think that's the same thing here for Rick Pitino, right? But it doesn't mean that it also is all on Rick Pitino, right? Like, it's not like you can't have a different offensive system every single year either, right? It's not like you're going to the Chiefs right now and Andy Reid's going, okay, this year, this is our playbook. Next year, this is the playbook. The year after, no, it's the same playbook. You're just making 10 to 15 to 20% adjustments based on the team that you have. And that's where the coach makes the big difference. And I think Rick Pitino had to hold himself to that standard as well, right? Like, okay, it's not just all your guys. You just really hammered your guys there, but it's not all your guys, all right? It is also you too as the coach, okay? But the bottom line is, going into that game, the St. John's Red Storm were 2-8 in their last 10 games, okay? And they had lost 3 straight. So it was not good, okay? For a team that started 12-4, it was spiraling out of control quickly for them as the Big East slate started to get heavy, and at the same time we get late in this season with only 3 more regular season games left, okay? So at first I was like, yo, Pitino, what? Like, that is a reckless amount of comments that you just said about your team over the microphone. But now, as I look back on it, I'm like, let's pump the brakes for a quick second here, because since Pitino made that comment, his team went out and beat not a very good, we get that, Georgetown team, but they beat a Georgetown team on the road 90-85. I don't care who you are, winning in the Big East on the road's hard. And then they hosted number 15 Creighton yesterday afternoon at Madison Square Garden and defeated them. So now I'm looking back a week later on those same comments and I'm going, well, hold on a second here. Did it work? Right? Did it work? And maybe it was harsh. Yes. And maybe he went across a line to a degree, sure. But at the end of the day, sometimes a coach reaches and grasps for straws. What can I do to motivate this team? Because I'm looking around and I'm like, dude, this team's talented enough to win, but I cannot get that extra percentage out of them that can help them win to the degree we need to win at this level right now. So let me grasp at the straws of this, and maybe this works. And by the way, newsflash, people, it worked. Anytime you make a speech nationally, privately, just to your team and its parents, whatever, and it reaches a line of negativity that people have to start thinking about morally, quote unquote, was that the right thing to say? If the team responds positively, then it was. And I can only speak from experience because last year, after a tough loss in our last conference series opening game, I told my team I didn't believe in them. I told them I didn't think we were good enough. I told them I didn't think we had enough pitching to win. I literally, essentially, Rick Pitino'd my own team. Probably not as harsh. Maybe. I don't know. You can have the guys tell you. But it worked. We had one shot. The next day, we had to win the first game of the doubleheader to even have a shot of making the postseason, and we did. And then we had first and third, 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, down by 1 with one of our top 3 hitters up at the end of the game in the second game of the doubleheader. If that ball lands that he ripped down the third base line, I'm sending the guy from first base. I can promise you that. We're winning that game. We're going to the playoffs. And so it does work sometimes. And so I'm sorry, people out there that might not like the way it came off. And maybe you can agree that Pitino shouldn't have done it publicly. Maybe he should have gone to the line publicly and then crossed the line in the locker room so nobody but the St. John's basketball program hears it. Maybe that's what he should have done. But at the end of the day, the premise of what he wanted to do worked. And now he's got a St. John's team in his first year that he says is terribly miserable and is not even as fun as when he was terrible with the Boston Celtics, which I don't necessarily believe. Again, having been somebody that's gone to that line before to motivate your team, you are saying things that you probably actually don't believe. Maybe in the moment you believe them, but later on you're like, I don't believe that. I didn't believe that my team wasn't good enough to win. The reason why I'm making this speech is I believe they're good enough, but I don't think they realize that they're good enough, so I got to do something to motivate them. So they're 16-12 right now, 8-9 in the Big East, sitting at number 7, and 2-0 this week with an upset win over number 15 Creighton. They have Butler, DePaul, and Georgetown remaining. There's no doubt in my mind that this team could now go on a 3-game run, win the last 5 of their last 5 going into the Big East tournament, and hit their stride at the right time. And we're going to look back on those comments from Rick Pitino, and we're going to be like, oh my God, maybe that's exactly what they needed. So all I'm here to do on the Rome Show to finish up today is ask you that next time a coach makes those extreme comments and it seems on the surface like he's a bad guy or this might hurt his recruiting or this is a terrible look for his program, let's see how their team responds first. And if the team responds well, that guy might have respect in that locker room and might know what he's doing. And if the team responds poorly, we got to ask questions. And we got to figure out, was that the right move? And does your team really respect you? And is this a good thing right now? But in Rick Pitino's case, I think he proved to us, the people, that he was very close to being as right as possible with how he wanted to handle his team after that 3-game losing streak. This has been the Rome Show here, 12ouncesports.com, broadcast live, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. If you missed any part of the show or you just want to send the show to a friend because you're like, yo, this show was so good, they need to listen, then I just want you to find the Rome Show podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. You can hit the subscribe button there, and obviously you'll get every show once I put it out. Head to tickets.12ozsports.com for any tickets you need for any event. Promo code Rome, mybookie.net, promo code 12OZSports, or wideworldshop.com, promo code 12OZSports. I'm also here to remind you that I have a question up there of the week. What sporting event or sport have you never seen live that you want to see live? Get us at Instagram and Twitter, The Rome Show 1. We'd love to know. Until tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., I am Andrew Romanella. You should be electric, and I am saying peace.
Thank you for listening.